Hi everyone, Ta here. So this is the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. It's Google's second generation foldable that looks like a normal smartphone when closed, but unfolds into a smallish tablet. It's got this premium notebook style design with a blend of curved and square off edges, and while it might not be as symmetrical as the Galaxy Z Fold6, it's still very good looking and well built. Outside of the hinge, which has this polished metal, the entire phone, including the new camera bump, has a fingerprint resistant matte texture. And it's a small detail, but I love that they managed to keep the phone wobble free for tabletop use. For most people, I think a device like this is a phone first and a tablet second. So I do appreciate that Google essentially took the Pixel 9's display and slapped it on here as the cover display. There's some extra weight, but when you consider how slim they were able to make this phone, I almost forget that I'm using a foldable at times. Almost. Also, this might sound crazy, but the extra width from the bezels and hinge actually helps with the typing experience because your hands aren't so cramped together. The screen being off-center does take some time to get used to, and another downside to this asymmetry is that it's going to be way less one-hand friendly for you lefties. How does it compare to Samsung's Foldable? Well, the Galaxy definitely prioritizes one-hand usability, while the Pixel is better for those who want a slightly more conventional all-purpose cover display. The power button doubles as a capacitive fingerprint scanner, and it works really well. I do have smaller hands, so I'm finding the position to be a tad bit too high. You also get a secure face unlock that works well on both the cover and main display. You can set it to skip the lock screen like I have for super quick unlocks, and unlike many other Android phones, this one actually works with banking apps and password managers. The downside: it only uses the selfie camera with no extra sensors, so you can't really use it at night. The speakers are fairly decent, but they sound a bit harsh with some distortion at full volume. They've added these holes at the top to let sound from the earpiece speaker though. This way, when you're using it as a tablet, you still get pretty solid stereo sound. The big draw of this form factor is having a larger screen whenever you need it, and the 8-inch 120Hz OLED main display here feels ultra roomy. Just check out how thin this phone is in tablet mode. What's wild is that there's foldables that are thinner than this. The hinge feels really sturdy. It's not as stiff as the one on the Z Fold6, but you can still prop it up at almost any angle. Once you push it past a certain point, it does snap fully open, and closing it gives you this really satisfying thump. Now the screen literally folds in half, so yep, there is a crease. When the screen is on and you're looking at it straight on, it's hardly noticeable, but everyone's tolerance and use cases are different. So I can't just say, oh, don't worry, it won't be a distraction for you. I found the main display to be super appealing for things like Google Maps, reading, editing photos, handling emails, or just browsing the web. It's just a nicer experience on a larger screen. The typing is also great. It defaults to the split keyboard, which makes sense. If the default sizing doesn't work for you, don't forget that Gboard lets you resize both the width and height to make typing more comfortable. The square aspect ratio does mean most video content will have fairly large black bars, and for some strange reasons, content isn't centered on the display. It's slightly lower. You do have the option to fold the phone in half and use it as its own stand, but not all streaming apps support this mode. For example, both the Prime Video and Bell TV app don't. If you happen to run into an app that doesn't optimize for the foldable display, which is gonna happen, you can go into the app setting, scroll down to aspect ratio, and you'll be able to force the app into full screen mode. Keep in mind, it might cause some compatibility issues in some cases, so you might have to just live with the awkward app layout until the developer fixes it. The phone's UI is going to feel right at home if you've used a Pixel before, with some UI changes. You've got the good old at-a-glance widget at the top and the Google search bar at the bottom right above your pinned apps. You can pin a total of 6, which feels a little stingy considering how much space we've got down here. The main display and cover display are actually exact mirrors of each other, meaning if you make a change on one, it applies to the other. They're always linked to each other. From what I can tell, there's no way to customize them separately. The quick panel has this nice split layout with your quick toggles on the left and notifications will show up on the right. And of course, you swipe up on the home screen to access the app drawer, which has this new card-based UI. The larger display is perfect for split screen multitasking, and it's pretty straightforward to do with the Android taskbar. Once you've got an app open, just do a slow swipe from the bottom to bring it up, and now you can easily run 2 apps side by side. This works great for social media and just any apps where you'll be scrolling a lot. Rotating the phone to landscape allows you to run 2 apps on top of each other, which I found is perfect for watching content on the top half and maybe playing a game on the bottom half. Google also gives you the option to save the app pairs to the home screen so you can quickly launch them later on. And yeah, that's basically all you get for multitasking. If you're coming from a Galaxy Z Fold, the experience is going to feel quite bare bones and almost restrictive. No desktop mode, no stylus support, and very limited customizations. Google's always been about keeping things clean and minimal. This is no different. It's a super simple, no fuss, easy to pick up and start using type of device. And honestly, that's okay. Different strokes for different folks, right? With that being said, it's pretty clear which company has invested more time refining their software for foldables. Even if you don't love Samsung software, they get a lot of things right. Google's definitely got some work to do to optimize the overall experience. It just feels a little unpolished in comparison. While multitasking might not be a key focus for Google, this phone is packed with AI. Photo features like Best Take, Face on Blur, and the new Add Me mode makes this phone one of the best for capturing and saving those perfect moments. I still love the classic Pixel features like Now Playing and Call Screen. They're as awesome as ever. I'm not all that impressed with some of the newer stuff this year though. Pixel Studio isn't all that useful. Zoom Enhance feels underwhelming, and the screenshot app is nice, but not exactly groundbreaking. The phone does come with a free year of Gemini Advanced, but unless Google adds some seriously cool integrations, the free basic version of Gemini is good enough for me. The phone runs on Google's Tensor G4 chip. Like the other Pixel 9 Pro models, it also has a vapor chamber to help with heat management. While it doesn't score as high as the Galaxy Z Fold6 in benchmarks, it delivers a really solid real-world performance with a buttery smooth UI. I am running into some issues with split screen performance though. There's been several occasions where apps have become completely unresponsive, forcing me to restart it. So yeah, it looks like Google's still got some work to do in terms of optimization for the larger display. Battery life has been just okay. It'll still get me through a full day on average, but if I'm using the main display a lot, I've had days where I'm dipping into like 15 to 20% battery range by like 7 p.m. On the other hand, on days when I'm just using it like a phone and sticking mainly to the cover display, I've ended days with like 50% battery. So the takeaway is it depends on how you use it. Standby battery drain is also very good, dropping about 2 to 3% overnight. Now charging is on the slower end. It'll do 0 to 50% in about 30 minutes, but takes an hour and 45 minutes to fully charge. Maxing out at 21 watts, it's the slowest charging device in the Pixel 9 lineup. There are a few odd choices with the wireless charging on this phone. The charging coils are placed lower, so it likely won't play well with wireless charging stands that aren't MagSafe. Even Google's own Pixel stand isn't compatible with it. On top of that, the battery share feature, which lets you charge earbuds or another phone, isn't available here either, which is a bit of a letdown. The Pixel 9 Pro Fold's cameras aren't quite as impressive as those on the Pixel 9 Pro, which might be a bummer given the price. The colors aren't as consistent, and the HDR feels like a step behind. But it still takes some really great looking photos that have that pixel look that a lot of people, including myself, love. For you parents out there, it handles my quick moving daughter extremely well. Plus, the new Made You Look feature works like a charm to get her to look at the camera. Outside of the rough looking portrait mode pics and maybe zoom photos not being quite as sharp, I don't have very many complaints. You also don't get the upgraded selfie camera, but because it's a foldable, you can just use the main lens, which is gonna be even better. Between this and the Z Fold 6, I'd definitely pick the Pixel 9 Pro Fold for photos. quality is fine, but it falls apart pretty quick without enough light. So yeah, while the phone is amazing for point and shoot photos, the video is just okay. As a second generation foldable, Google's done a solid job with the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. It's got dependable cameras and a cover display that feels like a regular phone but unfolds into a spacious 8-inch tablet, all wrapped in a very sleek package. However, it's definitely going through some growing pains. The battery life is just average, charging speeds are on the slower end, and there are some odd choices with the wireless charging. The issue I've been running into, like videos not being centered and apps becoming unresponsive, will likely get patched, but it's not something you expect on a premium device like this. Like every foldable, it comes with the usual downside: a sky-high price tag, a visible crease, and some concerns about long-term durability. Honestly, getting the extended warranty might be worth it just for the peace of mind. Look, if you love Google's simple, streamlined software and have been waiting to try out a foldable, this might be worth considering. But I'm sure I don't need to tell you that it's not cheap. For the price of the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, you get both a great phone and a great tablet. This one does combine both and fits in your pocket, so it really comes down to whether that's worth the cost for you. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'm out here.